Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a review of the app Vinted. If you guys don't know what Vinted is, it's basically a really similar app to Depop and Poshmark where you can sell your clothing online. But of course, all of these kind of apps are a little bit different, so we're going to talk about all the kind of unique features of this app and kind of like the stuff that I like and I don't like. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to all the people who were commenting saying, Alicia, try Vinted, because I was a little bit hesitant because I already am selling on like multiple platforms. I wasn't really like excited to start selling on a third. I'm actually so happy that I did end up giving it a try because I think this is actually a platform that I am going to continue to use. And unlike my H&M rewear review, I've actually already sold a few things on Vinted, so I can give you guys my full review, walk you through my entire kind of impression of Vinted. So Vinted is actually pretty new to Canada. I believe they launched it in Canada a little bit earlier this year. The coolest features of Vinted are probably the shipping and the fees. So I will go into this a little bit more in detail later, but for the shipping, it's kind of similar to Poshmark where they automatically create the label for you, which I love. And then for fees, the seller actually doesn't have to pay any fees. It's the buyer who pays the fees. So the buyer actually pays $1.10 plus 5% on every order. So this is amazing because one, this is the cheapest fee I've ever seen on any platform. And two, as a seller, it's honestly just so nice to not have to even think about fees and to see that when you sell an item, you're getting that exact amount into your account. So that is really cool and what I really love about it. So now let's go ahead and open the app and talk a little bit about the layout. So when you first open the app, my first impression is I actually like it. I do think it is pretty simple. You've got your bottom bar at the bottom, which has your home, your inbox, your sell, your favorites, and your cart. And then right on the homepage here, it just kind of gives you like a curated look at a few items, some things you'd be interested in. Now, where it gets a little bit confusing and weird for me is that there's an additional bar on the top here where you can see your items, which is a little confusing, but that's technically like the homepage, your closet, your orders, favorites, offers, and searches. The only issue is that with this is if you click on anything else besides your items, like my closet, for example, that bottom bar just completely disappears. And if you want to access that again, you have to go back to the items page. So I find that that's not designed very well. Also the fact that it's kind of more difficult to get to your closet. If you're kind of using this app more as a seller, you want to have quick access to that. And I would prefer it to be on the bottom bar, to be honest. I think that makes a lot more sense and that's why it works so well on Depop and Poshmark. Now let's just go click on a random item, for example. And once again, I do like the simplicity of the layout. You've got the pictures, the item name, the price, some shipping options, a description, and then the comments. Now on Vinted, there is technically messaging and DMing, but the only thing is it only allows you to message someone privately when you make a sale to them. This is kind of like a cross between Depop and Poshmark, kind of the best of both worlds, I guess. You might also notice too that it actually shows views as well as likes, so this is actually really unique too. It is cool from a seller perspective to see, out of all the people that's seen this item, how many have actually liked it. And I feel like that really helps determine the value of the item, which can be really helpful. And then at the very bottom of the page is where you're going to see the option to make a bundle offer, as well as if you actually click on their page. So yes, on Vinted, the buyer can actually send you offers, which is pretty cool. But unfortunately, as a seller, you cannot create bundles for people or send them offers on items. Then if we go to the My Closet page, once again, pretty simple. I like the layout. The only thing about Vinted though is that when you edit your listings, it does not rearrange it on your page. So for one, this is a little bit frustrating because of course, like being able to customize how your page looks is really important. Because when a buyer goes to your page, the last thing you listed is going to be the very first thing that they see and you cannot change that. Which also means that when you edit your item, it's not going to appear higher in the Vinted search options like it does for Depop and Poshmark. So there isn't really a way to be proactive on this app, and once you've posted something, you kind of just have to leave it there, which if you're into that, then it might actually be the app for you, because I find that even though I can't edit my listings, I still get quite a few notifications. Now, I don't know if that's because the app is pretty new and there's actually just not a ton of inventory on the site, so it's a lot easier for buyers to like find things. But just keep in mind that, yeah, you cannot repost or do any of that on Vinted. The other thing I noticed as well is when I sold something on a different platform that I had cross-listed to Vinted, I could not mark the Vinted item as sold. I just had to straight up delete the post. So once again, it's not a big issue, but when someone goes to your feed and like they see an impression of your page, it is sometimes nice to like show, yes, I have sold like previous and other items. Now, I do find that this app is extremely glitchy. I don't know if it's the Android version that just like isn't being taken into priority, but I found quite a few glitches. What ended up happening to me is that I got a notification saying that somebody commented on one of my items. So that was awesome. I went to click on it. The app just straight up wasn't even letting me respond to the comment, so I had to then go over to the desktop, like on the computer version, just to respond. And when I did, I realized that the comment was actually from 3 days ago, and Vinted had just sent me the notification now. So that was extremely frustrating because I definitely lost a sale because of that. And that also just looks really bad on me because the customer even like had to add a second comment where they're like, hey, you didn't respond, like, can you please respond to me? So that was extremely frustrating and very annoying. And the app also just doesn't even show you all of your notifications. So like right now I'm looking at it and it only shows me from 1 day ago. So if somebody has commented on your item and you want to go back and reference that, it basically gets lost. Another thing was when I went to go click on my offers and try to decline one of them, the button you're supposed to click was like all messed up and like, I guess it was like the script for the app or something, because it wasn't like saying the correct thing and I didn't even know when I was clicking it if I was actually canceling the offer. I also find that's very inconsistent between the desktop version and the mobile version. Like for example, I couldn't even cancel my order on the desktop version. Stuff like that didn't really make sense. And then when I did end up responding to that person, it added all these weird like numbers and letters that I definitely did not put in the comment. So just weird glitches like that. So hopefully that gets fixed soon, because otherwise I feel like the app isn't actually that bad. So now let's talk about shipping, which is really exciting. So as a seller, you actually have the option to choose from 3 different shipping providers: Canada Post, Purolator, and UPS. Now Canada Post is the default, so you have to select that. There's no option to unselect that. But then you also have the option to allow your buyers to choose Purolator or UPS as well. And I really love this because I feel like it's so nice to just like make it so easy to have other options and like be able to compare prices. And as a buyer, like maybe we'll help them realize like, hey, shipping isn't actually that expensive because it's maybe similar across all these platforms, or maybe they're thinking, oh, I'll get a really good deal if I ship with this one certain provider. So I love that. Now it is a little bit annoying that, you know, you might have to go to 3 different places when you are shipping stuff, but if that's such an inconvenience to you, then you can literally just turn off those options. So I really like that. Now, if we go to list an item, for example, you'll see kind of all the basic stuff, you know, add your photos, name, brand. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I feel like this is so similar to so many other platforms. Once you go to pricing, you select your pricing and you actually can choose to allow offers or not. So this is really cool because on Poshmark, you know, anyone can send you an offer, but on Vinted, you can go on an item per item basis and decide whether or not you want offers. So that's really cool. And when you put in your asking price, this is the exact amount of money that you are going to be getting once it sells. So that is really cool as well. And then lastly, we're going to go over to package. So what's really cool is that all you have to do is select the package size. So this is actually very, very similar to how Depop works in America. And you'll see you have 3 different options. You have small, medium, and large. And it gives you a little example of, you know, what would qualify for each weight category. Like for small, you know, it says t-shirts, dresses, jewelry. Medium, jackets, trousers. And then large says coats, shoes, heavier items. So I think this is actually a really great guide. And if you've shipped before, you definitely are really familiar with like guesstimating how much something weighs. If you're new to shipping, this could be a little tricky, and I could see how you could kind of underestimate the weight of something, but I guess in that case, you could always just go a little bit higher if you're afraid. So for example, if you think it's a small, but you're not sure if it's a small or medium, just go for the medium. And once again, the guide that it gives, I feel like it's really accurate, saying that, you know, a t-shirt would be very light. And what's so great about them providing, you know, those 3 different options is that as soon as you make a sale, it will automatically create the shipping label for you, and you do not have to weigh anything, which honestly saves so much time. It's very similar to Poshmark. The only difference is the buyer might have to pay a little bit more shipping depending on the item, you know, the weight and all that. And once a buyer does buy something, they do get to choose if they want Canada Post, UPS, or Purolator. Now, let's talk about making a sale. So I'm kind of just like still experimenting a bit with Vinted, so I ended up listing 40 items on there, and I believe it's only been a couple weeks and I've already sold 2 items. One of those items I actually sold like the next day after posting it. Now, my only issue with the buying process is that it takes very long. So unlike on Poshmark, when somebody sends you an offer and you accept it, the buyer still has up to 72 hours to actually pay for the item. Now, this is really frustrating because it's like, if you're gonna be sending in an offer, like, you should be prepared to pay right away. I don't know why Vinted allows them to like change their mind basically, and especially to give someone 72 hours, I feel like that is way too long. It should definitely be 24 hours if anything. And this is really frustrating too, because when you do accept an offer from somebody, it ends up getting marked as sold on your page, meaning that nobody else can buy this item even though it hasn't officially been sold yet. You could definitely lose some sales and some other opportunities from other buyers just because this item is kind of basically on hold. So then let's say after you've accepted the offer and then 72 hours later the buyer ends up paying for it, that is when you're allowed to download the shipping label. So you just go click download, super easy. So let's just say you ship it as soon as you possibly can. Once the item arrives at their place, the buyer then still has 4 days to confirm the order. And then once they finally confirm the order, it still takes 24 hours for the money to actually get to you. So I think this is way too long. It's an insane amount of time to have to wait for your money. You know, the 4 days to accept the order, I can understand. It's actually pretty similar to Poshmark. I think that's a fair amount of time. But the 72 hours for them to pay for the item after you've accepted their offer is just like totally insane to me. Because that means it could take like up to a full week before you get paid, and that's assuming you ship the item like as soon as possible. So I definitely think that's not the most efficient way to do it, and it definitely gives the buyer the upper hand and more in control because they have to accept the offer before you get paid. Pretty similar to Poshmark, I'd say. So what actually happened to me is that this one customer ended up sending me offers for 3 different pairs of jeans. I accepted them all, but then because I never received their comment about the items, they were just sitting as marked as sold for 3 days, meaning no one else could buy them. And then after the 72 hours, it doesn't even automatically decline the offer. You still have to go in and click decline yourself, which I didn't realize. I think they were sitting as sold for like at least 4 days, and the buyer never ended up paying them for them, so it was basically a waste of time for me. So I definitely do not love that about the app. But otherwise, I do have to say that the whole making a sale process was relatively easy despite like the amount of time that it took. Now, as for getting paid, I could not find out anywhere if it was like Poshmark where it keeps it in a balance and then you can send it to your bank account, or like how they did it. So finally, when I got my money from the first item I sold, I realized that for every item, they just send you the money individually into your bank account as like a direct deposit. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it is kind of annoying if you're making a lot of sales and then you just have to look on your bank statement and see all these like individual sales, especially if it's not a lot of money. Like, it was just $7. I'd rather just like save that in my like Vinted balance and then transfer everything like once a month or something. Basically how Poshmark does it. So I found that to be a little weird and a little bit annoying because you really have to be on top of that and check and make sure that you're actually getting paid for everything. Now, my last issue with Vinted, which is honestly so surprising to me, I only found this out through watching somebody else's review, and this might be the deal breaker, is that apparently Vinted is not meant for resellers. Or how they phrase it is for commercial use. They want their platform to be just, you know, people selling their old clothes, trying to get rid of them. Which in theory, I actually don't have a problem with that. I completely understand like why you would want your app to be like that. You know, to keep things relatively cheaper, maybe have more of a balance between people buying and selling. But the only problem with that is, how in the world are you going to distinguish a reseller from just a regular person selling their clothes? And the other problem too is sometimes there's such a gray area in between that. Like, there's so many times like, yes, I have items that I did buy for the sole purpose of reselling, but then there's other items that like I genuinely bought for myself and then just like changed my mind. So how in the world is Vinted going to be able to tell the difference? Now, I'll leave this video linked below, but when I was doing my research, I found that this one reseller actually got temporarily banned off of Vinted because they suspected that she was a reseller. And you guys can see the email for yourself that she sent her, but I think one of the main reasons was that she was listing like too many items at a time and like had too much items in her closet. So I'm going to be treading very carefully on Vinted and not post too much at a time. Like, I feel like if you include in the description like, oh, from my personal closet, like I changed my mind, I don't want this anymore, that's why I'm selling, how are they gonna dispute that? You know what I mean? And my other problem with this is that they do not make this obvious at all when you're signing up. You know, if you were like making your account and they said, oh, by the way, like this is intended for personal use, not business use, not reselling, then maybe I wouldn't even have like downloaded the app and like started in the first place. But the only place I could find it was like literally looking at their terms of agreement and like scrolling to this small little section that said it. So if that's gonna be your policy, like maybe make it a little bit more obvious. But overall, I actually really do like Vinted, and I'm so glad I tried it because I do think this is actually going to be one of my main selling platforms now. Like, I've only been on it for like maybe 2 weeks at this point, and I've already made a couple good sales. And a lot of it has been stuff that I've had listed on Depop and Poshmark for way longer that has yet to sell. So even though I think Vinted has a lot of like quirks and stuff to work out, this is definitely a platform that I am going to be continuing to cross-list to, and my goal is to basically have everything that's listed on my Depop listed on my Vinted as well. So if you guys are interested in seeing how this performs in comparison to Depop and Poshmark and see exactly what items I actually end up selling, definitely stick around and subscribe because every month I make a what I sold video where I go into depth about everything I sold for the month, how much money I made, that kind of thing. Now, I do want to say too that currently both UPS and Purelator have this kind of like sale going on Vinted where you can ship starting at like 99 cents, and that's supposed to last until the end of October. So it is going to be really interesting to see if once that's gone, are people still going to be buying things. And once again, thank you to everyone who suggested I try out Vinted because I'm so glad I did. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.